What if the deepest truths of your soul don't match any religion you were taught to follow? In a world where tradition often clashes with authenticity, this video explores how you can find meaning, morality, and freedom beyond rigid doctrines. If you've ever questioned where you truly belong, this conversation is exactly what you need to hear. Welcome to Axis of Curiosity, the space where we explore life's deepest questions: faith, identity, spirituality, and the search for meaning in today's world. Here, we go beyond surface answers to uncover ideas that truly matter for your soul and your freedom. If you find value in these reflections, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who are also seeking thoughtful perspectives. Together, let's build a community of curiosity, wisdom, and open minds. Many people in America quietly admit that religion, once seen as a safe home for the soul, can sometimes feel like a cage when it doesn't reflect who they are inside. Psychologists like Carl Rogers have long argued that when there is a gap between our true self and the social self we present to fit expectations, it creates inner conflict and anxiety. In religious communities, this tension can become even heavier, because faith is not just personal belief, it's tied to family traditions, cultural belonging, and sometimes even moral worth. A young woman raised in a conservative church may still love the values of kindness she learned there, yet feel suffocated by doctrines that reject her identity. A man may attend services to avoid disappointing his parents, all the while feeling spiritually hollow. Modern society pushes people toward authenticity, but religion often asks for conformity, and this clash leaves many wondering whether the problem is with themselves or with the system that refuses to bend. The result is a quiet struggle that shapes countless American lives. Earlier generations of America, religion was not just a matter of belief, but the very foundation of identity and community. Towns were often built around churches, and attending Sunday service was both a spiritual duty and a social expectation. Religious affiliation shaped who people married, what schools they attended, and even the businesses they trusted. Sociologists note that in a rapidly changing world, religion once offered a stable compass defining morality, guiding behavior, and providing a sense of belonging that extended beyond the individual to entire families and neighborhoods. For many immigrants, joining a church or synagogue became a way to claim space in American society, blending old traditions with new opportunities. Faith communities also provided support systems in times of poverty, illness, or grief, creating bonds that were both spiritual and practical. In that sense, religion was less about personal choice and more about collective identity, an anchor that told people who they were and where they belonged in the social order. For many Americans, belief turns into a heavy burden when faith no longer feels like a source of freedom but an endless performance of rules and expectations. Psychologists such as Leon Festinger, who developed the idea of cognitive dissonance, explain that when people live in ways that contradict their inner truth, it creates deep mental stress. A person may attend church, repeat prayers, and follow traditions, yet silently feel disconnected from the God being preached. The fear of judgment from family, peers, or even eternal punishment often forces people to suppress doubts rather than explore them honestly. A young professional might struggle with the church's stance on sexuality, while still being told that questioning doctrine is a sin. A parent may sit in the pews feeling hypocritical, teaching their children values they themselves no longer believe. Instead of comfort, belief becomes a mask that hides pain, and the weight of pretending can be more exhausting than disbelief itself. This silent suffering is increasingly common in a society that prizes authenticity. Across the United States, a growing number of people now describe themselves as spiritual but not religious, reflecting a major cultural shift in how meaning is pursued. Surveys from the Pew Research Center show that younger generations, in particular, are moving away from formal institutions while still seeking experiences of transcendence, connection, and purpose. Instead of pews and pulpits, many turn to meditation, yoga, mindfulness, or even nature as sources of spiritual grounding. Psychologists suggest this trend reflects a desire for authenticity. People want practices that resonate with their lived experience, rather than doctrines handed down without question. For some, reading philosophy or engaging in therapy provides the same depth once found in Scripture. For others, community is discovered in online forums, support groups, or creative circles. This movement does not always reject religion outright, but it resists the idea that one institution has a monopoly on truth. In today's America, spirituality is becoming less about obedience to a system and more about creating a personal path that honors the soul's individuality. In today's America, many are realizing that morality does not need to be tied exclusively to religious commandments, but can instead emerge from human empathy, reason, and shared responsibility. Philosophers from Immanuel Kant to Martha Nussbaum have argued that ethical principles are rooted in human dignity, not just divine decree. Psychologists also point out that compassion and cooperation are natural traits, observable even in children before they are exposed to religious teachings. Acts of kindness, whether helping a neighbor, fighting for justice, or supporting the marginalized, are increasingly guided by a sense of universal humanity rather than fear of sin. For example, movements for racial equality, environmental care, and LGBTQ+ rights often draw participants from diverse or non-religious backgrounds, yet they embody values traditionally associated with faith. This suggests that love, fairness, and responsibility can thrive independently of dogma, shaped instead by reason, reflection, and lived experience. In this way, morality becomes not something imposed from above but something consciously chosen, allowing individuals to live ethically without denying their authenticity. As traditional religious attendance declines, Americans are discovering new forms of community that fulfill the same deep human need for connection and belonging. Sociologists note that while churches and temples once served as central gathering places, many now find that sense of togetherness in secular or hybrid spaces. Mindfulness groups, book clubs, fitness communities, and humanist circles provide not only companionship, but also shared values and mutual support. Online platforms have also become powerful spaces for belonging, where people can discuss struggles, celebrate milestones, or explore spiritual questions without fear of judgment. A young adult who feels alienated in their hometown church may find acceptance in a virtual meditation circle or a local volunteer network. Psychologists emphasize that these communities meet a fundamental social need, the desire to be seen and valued. Instead of uniting under a single creed, people now gather around shared practices, interests, or causes, showing that the bonds of community can thrive far beyond the walls of religious institutions. In a society where old certainties no longer define every aspect of life, more and more people are beginning to see God, soul, and freedom in deeply personal ways. For some, God is no longer a figure confined to doctrine, but a vast mystery experienced through love, art, or the quiet of nature. The soul is understood not as something controlled by external authorities, but as the authentic self that seeks growth and connection. And freedom is no longer about escaping sin alone, but about the courage to live truthfully without fear of rejection. This redefinition allows individuals to weave together wisdom from different traditions, insights from psychology, and their own lived experiences, creating a spirituality that feels both honest and life-giving. In the end, the search for meaning does not require one religion, but an openness to the sacred wherever it is found. Thank you for watching this video with us. If these ideas spoke to you, please give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more thoughtful explorations.